Chapter 10. Clara. Sugar Plum turned Clara's trinket box over in her hands. Her finger traced the 6-pointed star keyhole, and a hopeful smile crossed her lips. "I think it is," she answered. "Yes, it most definitely is the key." Hawthorne jumped up and down with glee. "The key! The key!" he cried. "Did you hear that, Shiver? At long last we have the key!" At Hawthorne's words, Shiver's expression suddenly clouded. "But we do not," he said, crestfallen. "It may be the key, but as young Clara said, it is lost." Hawthorne's face fell as well. "Oh," he murmured. "You lost it in the fourth realm?" Shiver turned to Clara. "To a mouse with a scar? That will be mouse rinks." "The very same, sir," Philip nodded. Shiver passed a shaking hand across his face. "Ah, then Mother Ginger will have it, and all is lost." "If I may be so bold," Philip suggested, "we will mount an expedition, Your Excellency." "I think that's an excellent idea," Clara chimed in, thankful for Philip's steadfast resolve. "I must get that key back." "We all must, my dear. We all must." Hawthorne leaned heavily against a pillar. "But you can't possibly go back to the fourth realm. It's a terrible place. It's pure fortune you got out alive." "Hawthorne is right," Shiver added. "We cannot risk losing our princess when she has only just arrived." "And talking of arriving," Hawthorne continued, "where are our manners, Regents? We need to organize a pageant to celebrate your coming." "I think that's an excellent idea," Sugar Plum concurred. "But the key," Clara pressed. She could feel her chances at retrieving it slipping away. No, Shiver shook his head. "Out of the question." Clara's face fell. She slumped down into one of the empty thrones. That's Mother Ginger's throne," Philip said nervously. Sugar Plum swept to Clara's side and took her hand. "You have had a long, tiring day. Let me show you to your quarters." Before Clara could protest, Sugar Plum escorted her out of the throne room. Clara cast a confused glance back to Philip before the large double doors closed behind them. "Mother Ginger has a throne?" Clara asked as they walked along a tapestry-lined hall. She didn't understand why such a horrible creature would have a dedicated seat in the palace. "Mother Ginger used to be the regent of the fourth realm," Sugar Plum explained, "before she was banished." "What happened?" Clara asked. "When Marie didn't come back," Sugar Plum said slowly, "Mother Ginger tried to take control of all the realms by force. Your mother trusted us to guard the realms in her absence. She trusted Mother Ginger, but Mother Ginger had other plans. She wanted to rule all your mother had created on her own." Sugar Plum guided Clara to a window overlooking the fourth realm. From here, Clara could see it was an island, shrouded in fog and fallen to ruin. "These are frightening times," Sugar Plum said gravely. "We forced Mother Ginger into exile, but she created the monster that so nearly caught you and laid waste to the fourth realm." She pointed to the drawbridge Clara and Philip had ridden across upon entering the palace grounds. It was raised now, preventing unwanted enemies from the fourth realm from crossing over to the other three. "That drawbridge won't keep out the mice much longer," Sugar Plum explained. "I don't think your mother would want you to go back to the fourth realm. I have a duty to keep you safe." Clara stared out at the drawbridge. To think that it was all that was protecting her mother's greatest creation from complete ruin. She couldn't believe it. How could someone her mother had trusted have turned out to be so evil? Sugar Plum gently took Clara's hand. "Come." The beautiful regent led Clara through the palace corridors and up long staircases to a room tucked away high in a tower. Upon entering, Clara gasped. "What a beautiful bedroom!" she exclaimed. The chamber truly was lovely, bedecked in satin and lace and flowers, a room fit for a queen. "It was your mother's," Sugar Plum said, "and now yours, if you like." Clara ran her fingers lightly over the soft, downy bedspread. A painting of her mother hung on the wall. Sugar Plum was in the painting next to her. The two girls appeared to be laughing, enjoying a sunlit afternoon in a field of flowers. Clara gazed at the painting for a long moment. Her mother looked younger in the picture, happy and full of life. Clara felt the familiar tightness in her chest. It was as though her mother were all around her in the delicate beauty of the bedroom, close enough to speak to touch, but just beyond reach. "Please, Sugar Plum," Clara said, "tell me about my mother." Sugar Plum smiled. "We went everywhere together," she said. "We were inseparable, skating on the river banks, dancing in the courtyard, taking candies off houses when no one was looking. We would stay up all night in the flower gardens, just talking and talking. Ah, such happy times." The corners of Sugar Plum's lips dipped down as she spoke. Clara thought she must be filled with great sadness, realizing those memories could never be relived. Clara understood because she felt the same way. Suddenly, Sugar Plum looked to Clara. "Darling Clara, can you keep a secret?" she asked conspiratorially. Clara nodded. Sugar Plum took her hand and led her through another doorway, up a short flight of stairs, and into a room filled with machinery. Gears slowly turned, ticking by the seconds. 12 windows with closed curtains lined the walls. "Your mother and I treasured our joints onto the other world," Sugar Plum said with a sly smile. "The other world?" Clara asked. "Your world," Sugar Plum replied. She pulled back one curtain, revealing the cracked glass of a window with a large number printed backward. Through the blurry glass, Clara could just make out the view of Drosselmeyer's ballroom far below them, decorated in Christmas finery. "It's Godfather's ballroom," she cried. "We're in his clock." "But how?" The machinery behind them suddenly began to whir more loudly. Something was about to happen. "It's time," Sugar Plum urged. She hurried Clara to a moving platform. Wait. Okay, now, step up." Together, Clara and Sugar Plum hopped onto a moving platform powered by a conveyor belt that ran around the length of the clock room. It moved them swiftly toward a door, which opened in a burst of light, leading to... "We're out!" Clara exclaimed as they rushed into the light and sound of the ballroom Christmas party. From their vantage point high up on the grandfather clock, Clara had a bird's-eye view of the entire festivity. But she was not her normal size. She was as tiny as a toy figurine. Clara looked down at her hands. She was a figurine. She and Sugar Plum had turned into miniature versions of themselves, moving along the outside of the grandfather clock on a tiny winding conveyor belt like two decorations ringing in the hour as the clock chimed. Clara gazed in wonder as the magic of the realms shimmered around her. "How is this possible?" she asked in disbelief. Sugar Plum just smiled. "Your mother's favorite view, and mine." Clara gazed in wonder at the joyful party beneath them. "There's Father, Fritz, and Louise," she cried suddenly. Clara pointed to her family, staring in the center of the party. Fritz was playing with his Nutcracker, trying to make their father laugh. Meanwhile, a handsome young man spoke with Louise. "She's so lovely, isn't she?" Clara said of Louise, noticing again how much she resembled the mother in the beautiful green gown. "Is she?" Sugar Plum asked, tilting her head. "Oh, yes, sweet. But don't forget, your mother chose you to come to the Four Realms, not her." Clara couldn't help feeling a flush of pride. Sugar Plum was right. Her mother had chosen her for this adventure. Even though she might not be graceful or poised or know the right thing to say at the right time, her mother had trusted her enough to share this wonderful secret, and that meant everything. The conveyor belt rumbled along, bringing Clara and Sugar Plum around the length of the clock and leading to an automatic door. Just before they passed through, Sugar Plum leaned closer and whispered in Clara's ear, "I used to watch you growing up from here and wonder when your mother was going to bring you to meet us." They buzzed through the door and back into the cool, dark room inside the clock. "That's what she said. That's what she did," Clara grinned, holding up the precious egg. She gave me this, and here I am." "At last," Sugar Plum agreed. "She was so clever." "But won't my family worry where I've gone?" Clara suddenly realized. "No, no," Sugar Plum assured her. "Time moves so slowly there. You'll be back before they've noticed, if you really want to go back." "I can't go back until I found the key," Clara said, determined. "I quite understand," said Sugar Plum. "But until then, you are the guest of honor at our pageant. All the citizens of our world will want to see you." Sugar Plum grasped Clara's hand once more and guided her back to her mother's lovely bedchamber. The beautiful regent rushed to a gilded wardrobe and threw open the doors. Rows and rows of gorgeous ball gowns hung on satin hangers. "So, which one will you choose for your debut?" she asked. At that, Clara hesitated. "I don't know," she said, uncertain. "I'm not very good at dresses and hair and shoes and—" Well, Clara's voice trailed off. She knew the regents were only trying to welcome her, but she wasn't sure she wanted to be honored at a pageant where all eyes would be on her. Clara wasn't shy, but here in the realms, where her mother had been so revered and beloved and perfect, what if she didn't live up to their expectations? What if they were disappointed? Clara wished more than anything she could talk to her mother. She wanted the key so she could know her mother's final message. Sugar Plum stepped up behind her. "If I may be so bold as to suggest that I help, would you?" Clara asked with relief. "Of course," Sugar Plum exclaimed. "It's my favorite thing." A short while later, Clara sat in front of the vanity mirror, her eyes closed. Piles of dresses surrounded her, and Sugar Plum put the finishing touches on Clara's hair. "No peeking," Sugar Plum reminded her. "You're almost ready." Clara nodded. The way Sugar Plum lightly combed and pinned her hair was far more delicate than Louise's touch, but still not quite the same as her mother's. "Did my mother ever talk about me?" Clara asked quietly. "Oh, yes, all the time," Sugar Plum replied. The last pin she was placing accidentally poked Clara's head a bit too much, but Clara didn't mention it. "So much so it sometimes seems you were right here with us," Sugar Plum finished. "Now, open your eyes." Clara did as she was told and stared at her reflection in the mirror. She gasped. "Oh!" Clara looked magnificent. Sugar Plum had selected a stunning winter white gown embellished with feathers and flowers for her to wear to the pageant. Gold brocade circled the bodice and arms, and her hair was intricately braided with shimmering ribbons and pearls. Clara had never seen herself look so lovely. For a brief moment, she actually felt as beautiful as her mother. "Do you like it?" Sugar Plum asked. "I love it," Clara answered. "I look so different." Sugar Plum smiled. "Like the daughter of a queen."